What's up, everyone? Philly Insider. It is September. We're coming down the home stretch here of the Major League Baseball season. And what a week the Phils had just before they head into this week against who they got this week. I don't even know, honestly. I know they got Toronto for 2 games, and then I'm not even sure what it is after that because I'm so excited about what happened this past week. But how are we feeling, Drew?
I'm feeling good. I mean, been beating up some good teams here. So, obviously it was the other 2 series weren't near as important as the Braves series, and the Phillies looked so good in that Braves series. I mean, their pitching was very good, to say the least, other than I think the second game of the series. Yeah. It is what it is. I feel like they kind of have his number a little bit. I don't know why. Maybe I'm wrong, but in the regular season, it seems like they really get to him. So,
yeah.
I mean, other than that, the pitching staff was very good.
Yeah. Suarez hasn't gone very long in both his postseason starts against Atlanta. So then they seem to be very careful with him in the postseason versus the Braves too, and how long they let him go. So yeah. I mean, and again, it's his second start coming off the injury too. So cut him a little bit of slack there as well. But like you said, the pitching has been, outside of that game and the Taiwan starts as of late, like the pitching has been really, really good. Once again, Nola's been great this year. Nola has had an awesome year after getting paid, man. I mean, I think a lot of people thought maybe he'd get paid and have a down year and just, he was going to get his money. Not that was his mentality, but I think a lot of people were worried he'd get his money and not pitch as well after that because he wasn't really that good up until the playoffs last year. And he's just been awesome this year. It's not going to win you a Cy Young what he's doing right now, but you don't need him to. You need him to be a good number 2, and that's exactly what he's been. And Wheeler's been unbelievable. I mean, every start, it just feels like he shoves. That every important start, I should say, it feels like he shoves. And he did on Saturday night, man. That was incredible. And the offense hasn't necessarily been like exceptional the past week. So to get starts like that and what this pitching staff is doing as of late, like you really need that in some games. And that's how you're going to have to win some games in the playoffs too, especially we know the offense has a tendency to go cold from time to time. It's just going to happen. And your pitching is going to have to keep you in a lot of games. And that's exactly what this staff can do. And got to give love to Sanchez as well. I mean, that guy's awesome. He's had a really good, I would consider this his sophomore season. I know it's really not, but for what he was last year was really his coming out party. And then for this, just to follow it up with the year he's had this year too, really cool to see. I know his last start wasn't the best start, but just overall this year, I mean, he's just been great. And the last couple of starts he's been to be. So very pleased with what the rotation did this past week. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, obviously Sanchez, like you said, it's kind of like his second full season, it feels like. And man, he's been nothing short of special at times. And obviously he had some bumps in the road early in the season, but I mean, he's settled into his role very, very well. I think he's one of the best number 4s in the league, if not probably the best. I mean, I don't know. Would you put him over Suarez right now, like in a playoff series?
Probably not, just because Ranger has the playoff experience and he's been so good there.
Yeah.
Like I get the thinking, but I would probably go Ranger and just trust my gut that he's going to be back to form by the time the postseason comes around. But Sanchez is going to have to pitch in some big spots too. I mean, he's going to be very much involved in the playoffs. So he's going to have to be ready to go. But it is an interesting conversation. And I don't know, maybe you consider having him pitch after Suarez in a game 3 in a short series because he's not going to pitch in a game 4 because you'll have your other guy ready. But I think that's how it'll work. I think the days off have lined up to where we've always had we haven't really had to use last year we didn't have to use our 4th guy. This year we might. I'm not sure how the days off are going to stack up. Regardless, he's going to pitch in that series, I think, most likely.
Last year Sanchez did pitch in Arizona, I believe.
It was Arizona, yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't pitch in the Atlanta series, I don't believe.
No, I don't think he did. I think we just stuck with our top 3 guys, like you said, based on how the days off lay over and stuff. But
sure.
I mean, outside of the starting rotation recently, the bullpen, man, I don't even know what else you can say. They've been absolutely lights out, especially Carlos Estevez last night. That was
sweet last night what he did.
That was insane. Yeah. Coming in and shutting down the Braves 2 innings in a row with the runner on second. That's nasty work.
Yeah. And that's something I feared maybe he would struggle with a little bit when he came in, but not one bit. And honestly, the past like 3 or 4 outings for him, I've gotten a lot more confidence in him because obviously when the trade happened, one of the concerns was what happened at the second half last year was he really fell apart. But this year you could tell he was a different pitcher just because he was hitting the strike zone more. I mean, that was really the biggest thing with him was he was not giving guys free passes. And he hasn't really he's had a couple rough outings, but one of them, again, it was weak contact, and you get unlucky sometimes with that. And for the most part, he's been really good since being acquired, which usually when the Phillies acquire relievers, it doesn't work out very well. And a lot of the time, you're like, oh, great, this is another Ian Kennedy, Heath Hembry, Brandon Workman pickup. But Estevez has kind of quieted those concerns for now. And obviously, a large part of how his season with the Phillies is viewed is going to be what he does in the postseason. But he's been really good, and I really don't have many complaints about him. I've been, I guess you could say, pleasantly surprised. Again, he was having a really good year, but I feel like I'm very much more at ease with how he's pitched as of late, and I'm very happy that he's done that because he definitely has a fire to him, which you need as a reliever. Him and Hoffman are the two guys I'm like, mentality wise, they're there, and they think they can get everyone out, which is what you need. And Strom, I think, is there too, absolutely. So Alvarado, we'll see. Obviously, he's got some stuff going on the personal side, so hopefully he comes back. But like those three guys are the guys I'm like, I know they're going to get fired up on the mound, and I know that they have that confidence to them that you need.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you kind of got to have that mentality when you're out there in the bullpen because you're going to get brought into some crappy situations, to say the least. And it seems like their go-to guy for that has been Strom. I just feel like they love the fact that he can get lefties and righties out very effectively, like very consistently, I should say. And obviously, like if you have to put Hoffman in there against a lefty, like you're not gonna be afraid of that. But he's kind of been like a clean inning guy where he takes down like the best part of their order for the most part. And obviously, I think Estevez will probably do the same thing at points because you might have Hoffman being unavailable. Like the off day today, they kind of like dumped the bullpen yesterday and kind of put out all the stops. But in the playoffs, I think you're going to see guys go 3 days in a row, obviously. But I think ideally they don't want that. And I think mostly it's going to be Hoffman and Estevez in the 8th and 9th inning, whether it's one or the other in the 8th or the 9th. I don't know exactly what their plans are, but it seems like they put Hoffman in on the best part of the other team's order most of the time.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the nice thing, like you said, is there's going to be days where not everyone is available. And that's why getting a guy like Estevez is so huge because it lengthens the bullpen just by another guy. And Kerkering is like your fourth guy right now. And he's been sick lately. I mean, that guy, to use one of your words, Drew, he's a demon. I mean, that guy is gross. I mean, again, just seeing the progress he's made from being a guy who got called up from low A last year, well, made it all the way up from low A last year, I should say, and to where he is now, he's made a ton of progress in that short time, and he's only going to get better. And I think, again, I've been saying this for a couple weeks now, but I think he's ready for the playoffs this year, and I think he's going to go in with a little bit of a vengeance mindset after what happened last year. So really excited about him in the postseason too, because then when those top three guys aren't available, that's your guy who's probably going to be pitching in the big spots, 8th or 9th, if you need him. And I feel really good about that. Like I have a lot of confidence in him in those spots as long as he trusts his fastball. And I think he should. I mean, it's a really good pitch. And obviously his slider's his best pitch, but it's sweet. So yeah, like you said, Estevez, it really lengthens the bullpen. And I agree. It looks like the way they've used him and Hoffman, 8th and 9th inning, it's going to be both of those guys. I'd agree. They'd probably go Hoffman for the best part of the order. Not to say Estevez is not capable of getting that part of the order, but you just trust Hoffman so much. And we saw last year, I mean, Rob was going to be aggressive from time to time. So he might even use Hoffman earlier too, as he did last year, and just be like, all right, I need my guy right here. And obviously he wasn't like the guy last year. So he'll be used a little bit differently this postseason, but he will be aggressive, and Hoffman will certainly be called in for some important spots, even if it's earlier in the game. But I agree. Generally, those guys are going to be your 8-9 inning guys. And I love that combo there. I mean, that's sweet. And yeah, Strom, man, that guy has been awesome lately too. Got into a real jam last night and somehow got out of it. You figured once he was, who was the last guy he got out? Was it Merrifield or Laureano? I forget.
I think it was Laureano, but I'm not 100% sure.
And he's, again, once you get to one of those two guys, I think it was Laureano, but you figure Strom has the advantage there. And especially in a postseason environment, some of these guys in the Braves lineup, they're not postseason hitters. Let's be real. I mean, Laureano's a great defensive player. He's got a cannon of an arm, but you're very aware of that guy's deficiencies at the plate. It's very, very real. And that guy's hitting 5th in their order. Okay, I think I'm okay with that. If the Braves want to go into the postseason with that type of lineup, by all means, be my guest. So their lineup was not super deep right now. And again, advantage Strom there. Strom's a guy I think he can get like a number of guys out, and he got Shohei out earlier this year in a big moment too. So again, to have this many guys who can pitch in big moments, it's really sweet.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, ideally, we don't face the Dodgers in the playoffs and we just go straight
Right.
to the World Series through an easier route.
Yeah.
But I mean, having a guy like Strom that can get Ohtani out the way he did in those couple games was it was electric then, and it would be even more electric in the bank in October. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very important to have guys like that can take down the best part of the other team's order, even if it's in the seventh inning.
Right.
Because you're going to have that best part of the order coming up multiple times late in the game. And
Yeah.
it's just so important that the Phillies have that many guys in the bullpen.
100%. And I feel like Jose Ruiz has done his job as the innings eater lately too.
Yeah.
Like he's been very, very good in that role over the past couple months, I would say. So good to see that, because he's really going to be the main guy there when we're down a run or two. That's the guy you're putting in the game. It's not going to be Tyler Phillips. It's not going to be Taijuan Walker.
Yeah,
and
man.
we do got to talk about that too. Had probably two of the worst starts we've seen him have in his Phillies career, which that's saying a lot because he's had some real bad ones. And his last start, they were just like, all right, well, we're down 6-0, eat the innings. And he gives up 13 hits over 6 runs over that 6-inning span. So yeah, they finally made the move. He's going to the bullpen. It sounds like Tyler Phillips, who was called up with the roster expansion for September, he is probably going to start tomorrow, which is probably for the best. I'm not sure how that's going to go. At this point, the fifth guy is whoever it is just going to try to eat those starts the rest of the year. I mean, that's really, it sucks. But at least it's not a scheduled loss with Taijuan anymore. So you've seen Tyler Phillips have a couple good starts. I'm not sure you can necessarily expect that consistently from him, but there's X amount of starts the rest of the year for the fifth spot. I mean, at this point, it's probably 5 or 6 or something like that. So you hope you can wrap everything up by then. It could prevent them from getting the division, which is unfortunate. But it is tough to have 5 guys who are really good in a rotation, and they have 4 really good ones. They just haven't had an answer to the fifth spot, but I'm glad they at least moved Walker to the bullpen. I think a lot of us would have preferred they just ate the money and left them off the roster at this point, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Obviously, it kind of is what it is. Like you said, they're only going to get maybe 30 more innings out of their last guy in the rotation at this point. So it's going to be what it's going to be. I mean, even if you lose those 4 or 5 starts, it's not going to like sink the ship or anything. You're probably still going to win the division. There's still 7 games up, and I think last night, like we talked about before we went live, like it just feels like that was kind of like the nail in the coffin for the Braves as far as winning the division goes. I mean, they would have to get extremely hot, and the Phillies would have to go ice cold for them to kind of catch us at this point. I think there's like 25 games left, something like that.
Something like
maybe
that.
Not even. Yeah, and for them to lose, for the Phillies to lose 7 times and the Braves win 7 times on the same day, and then not have vice versa happen, it would just be so unlikely. Like, I just don't see it happening.
It'd be pretty ridiculous if that happened. I don't really envision that happening. They do play the Mets a number of times too, but even them, it's like they've definitely had a lot of vibes this year. But I don't necessarily fear the Mets coming into Philadelphia and taking that series, or taking both of those series. I think is very unlikely. So, and they're 8 games back, I believe. So they still have a lot of ground to make up too. It's really exciting, the thought that the Phillies could win the division for the first time since 2011, and it's been so long. And sure, you can argue, we can talk about how the Braves and the Dodgers have suffered through that route the past couple of years. The Astros haven't. I mean, hopefully the Phillies are just able to take that approach and not really be affected by the bye. But you have an opportunity to win the division. You're not going to not try to win the division, obviously. So that being said, it is very exciting. That place is going to erupt. That day they win the division is just going to be, it's going to be special, because the last couple of years, the clinchers have been really cool. Obviously, the one was in Houston, but last year at home with Rojas getting the walk-off, that was awesome. But the division is a whole different feel, because you get a banner hung for that, not a phony one that they hung up like they did for 2023. You get a real banner for that. So that's really sweet to think about, and I'm excited about that possibility. But that's really all I got on the Braves and the Phillies, the pitching staff, and just the standings and everything. So
I mean,
I don't know if you have anything else on that.
No, I kind of wanted to talk about the lineup a little bit. I mean, I think it was like middle of last week or something, but anybody that watches every night, you've kind of known it, but Bryce Harper's been playing hurt. I mean, that's kind of been evident. Like, this kind of power outage from him is just, it's like unheard of. I think it's been 100 at-bats at this point. So I just hope he gets right before the postseason starts. That's really all I care about at this point. Same with Alec Boehm. I mean, I don't want to see them rush him back. Sounds like he'll play tomorrow,
Yeah,
but I guess we're going to see.
right.
Obviously, I mean, health is the most important thing as far as the playoffs go. You want your best players to be on the field, and if it takes a couple days for them to heal up or whatever it may be, it is what it is. Like, I wouldn't be mad if Alec Bowman on the IL at this point.
Yeah, if he needs it, I mean, he needs it. And it's almost like, yeah, his X-rays were negative, but then at that point you're thinking, is it a tendon? Is it something real serious that's not bone related? Then other concerns start to creep in too. So yeah, hopefully he's good to go. I mean, the fact that he's supposed to play tomorrow is a good sign, but again, there's always the risk of re-injury, and sometimes you just never know if they're really ready to go back out there. So hopefully everything goes smoothly with that tomorrow. And like you said, Bryce obviously not really been himself this year, or at least the last couple months. It's pretty crazy what his numbers are, even with that in mind. And even the past 6 games, I mean, he's 8 for 21 with 3 doubles, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts. So the fact that he did that while playing hurt is really encouraging too, just because, again, if he's not hitting, everything changes. And Trey hasn't necessarily been himself for quite some time now too. Kind of need him to return to form. He's had a good year overall. His numbers are solid, but he has gotten down to like an 800 OPS, I think, at this point, or pretty close to it. So those two guys, if they're not going to hit, it's going to be really difficult for the rest of the lineup to do damage. So them being 100% for Bryce in Bryce's case and just returning to form in Trey's case, that's really, I mean, it's huge for this team's success moving forward. So you need those two guys to be themselves. And yeah, I mean, that being said, Castellanos has really stepped up in a big way while those two guys have not been hitting as much the past couple months. I mean, his numbers since like May 29th, June 1st, around that time, are just, I mean, they're unbelievable. Especially when you more so unbelievable when you compare them to his numbers up until that point. It's night and day. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually don't know where this team would be without him doing what he's doing right now. I really don't think they would be first in the division. I think they might even be a game back. It would be close, but he has bailed them out a number of times. He leads Major League Baseball in walk-off hits with 4, had another one last night, has all 3 RBIs last night. Just special stuff from him, man. And he's just taking it pitch by pitch, at bat by at bat. He never really overthinks, and that's the beauty of his approach. There's obviously a dark side of his approach too that we've seen in the playoffs before, but again, even last year, he went super cold in the NLCS, but he's a big reason we were even there. So some things you got to keep in perspective with him. When it's easy to get frustrated with him, but he's also a big reason why the Phillies have been in favorable positions over the past couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Castellanos, like you said, I don't know where they would be without him at this point. He's been a godsend whenever these other guys haven't been hitting, and he's been kind of getting bumped up in the order a little bit. Like, it's been quiet, but he's been hitting 5th lately, and I don't know. He's been majorly helping my fantasy team. I can help you that much, tell you that much. But yeah, I mean, the whole lineup as a whole, like, they kind of been a little bit cold the last like month or 2 months maybe, but overall, I mean, they're still going to hit. It's just kind of a matter of time. Like, everything's going to start clicking at some point, and hopefully that point is right at the beginning of October. And I mean, obviously, hoping it carries through the playoffs and into the World Series, and you know what the ultimate goal is, obviously. So, right. But yeah, I mean, my favorite hitter definitely has been Castellanos, though. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what else to say about it. Like, he's been like the only bright spot in the lineup consistently for the last couple months, like you said. And obviously, Boehm hasn't slowed down too much, but he's kind of had a little bit of a power outage. Like, he hasn't been hitting any home runs, and Stott's been getting a little bit better lately. Marsh has been hitting a little bit more. So you just kind of hope these things start clicking and keep clicking into October.
Yeah, for sure. And again, like, you can look at these guys' numbers over past however many games, but I think with Stott and Marsh, it's just they've come through in some important spots, and that's the biggest thing to see from them. It's just that their approach has been a little more sound. I feel like they've been seeing the baseball better, like, the past week or so, and that's really encouraging for those two guys, because again, that just adds so much depth to the bottom of the order, and it makes this lineup so much more potent when you have guys 1 through 7, 1 through 8 who can hit. And obviously JT kind of coming along. He's been kind of up and down, I feel like, for the most part. But again, JT is still like a month removed from that injury. So I think by the time the playoffs hit, he'll be in good shape. And I mean, again, it's guys like Sosa. He only has 2 hits the past week, but 2 huge hits, man. I mean, that guy has been awesome for them this year. There's not many utility players who can produce like he has this past year. And again, obviously, we know if he plays a full 162 and has X amount of at-bats or plate appearances, 500, 600, he's not meant for that. I mean, he's just not going to be an everyday guy. I think he could survive in that role, though, and that's important to have a guy who could play in that role, maybe not at the highest level over the whole course of a season, but just what he's doing right now. I mean, he's producing in some important spots. He's had some key hits this year. Can play a few different positions for you. Obviously, at certain positions, he can be a little more frustrating just because he's probably best at shortstop, but he can play there if you need him to. And again, just to come in while Alec Boehm's not playing and to hit that home run last night to kind of jolt the team. Or was it last night or Saturday night he had the home run?
Saturday night.
Saturday night. Yeah. Sorry, I got the games mixed up. But point being, just to do that, man, I mean, in a low-scoring game too, he needed all the runs you could get. Michael Harris took one away. And to have a guy come off the bench and step into a spot and do that, it's really rare to have guys like Edmundo Sosa off your bench. And yeah, I mean, as much as we have complained about the bench over the past couple of years, it's been really, really, really important to have a guy like that.
Yeah, he literally saved the team whenever Trey got hurt. That's just the reality of it. He was so good, and it's like you said, it's nice to have a guy like that because there's not a lot of teams that do have that. You've seen the Dodgers this year, like they've had injuries and like they have nobody to fill them. It seems like they trade away a lot of their prospects. So, but I mean, like you said, it's so invaluable. Like I don't even know what else you can say about him. He's a vibes guy. He's like Garrett Stubbs, but like a good player. Stubbs has had his moments, but he's kind of like the vibes officer.
For sure. Yeah. And outside of that in the lineup, I mean, again, there's some guys who still kind of need to get hot. Schwarber's been a little bit cold as of late, but again, he's just a guy who goes through the ebbs and flows of the season, man. And you just got to trust him. You got to trust him. I'm sure he's going to start out October a little cold like he always does, like he does in the start of the season usually. But I think like by the time the NLCS rolls around, he's going to be carrying the offense at that point. So I never really worry too much about him. Rojas really hasn't gotten a ton of time lately, so I'm curious to see what that looks like as we approach October. My guess is, I think this is everyone's guess, that they're going to go with Marsh in center and Hayes in left for the most part, and then Rojas will probably be a late game defensive guy for them in certain spots in certain games, which that's a valuable guy to have off the bench too, a great pinch runner to have as well. I think I'd probably prefer that he plays center, Marsh plays left, and Hayes plays left when there's a lefty on the mound. That would be my preference. Just I think the defense is really important. But I do understand that you're probably going to get more quality ABs from Hayes and Marsh in the long run. So I understand that. Obviously, again, I said this before we started the stream, but Hayes still does not have a walk as a Philadelphia Philly. I think that's correct. Maybe I have to check that. But I don't believe he has a walk in a Phillies uniform. And even if he does, it's like 1 or 2 at most. So would like the approach to be a little better there. It's going to take time for him to work with Kevin Long, and they have next year to work on that too. But I do think overall he's hit like fairly well as of late, and I think he's hit the ball hard too. He tricked me into thinking he hit a home run last night, and it like wasn't even on the warning track. That was kind of bothersome. But regardless, I think he's been pretty solid. It's not. You probably would have hoped for more impact from a trade candidate, but I don't think he's been bad.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it feels like we kind of got more than we gave as far as the Orioles trades have went. So I'm not really mad about that. But I mean, like we talked about before, there was no like high end hitters on the market during the trade deadline other than like Luis Robert, which is obviously, thank God we didn't get him. He's been terrible in the second half. So I mean, obviously Hayes is a much better hitter than Rojas is, and I think the Phillies are going to kind of lean that way a little bit, like want more offense versus having that defense, because Marsh is still a pretty good center fielder. I mean, he's not like
he's fine,
otherworldly or anything, but he's gonna make above average catches on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing I think kind of gets lost in it, is that Rojas is an elite center fielder. So people see Marsh go out there and think he's not good. He's good. He just isn't going to get to every single ball that Rojas gets to, but he's still very, very good out there. And I would say he, like you said, above average is the perfect way to put it. So I don't really have concerns. And I think Hayes is fine in left field too. Like, I don't think he's necessarily the best left fielder, but I also don't think he's bad. I mean, I think he can get to a lot of baseballs that other guys can't. There's just times where I think, he's just got to make certain plays that are kind of in between, but he's got to make them if we want to win games. So, but I'm not really like super concerned about him defensively. That's the thing is, at least with getting Hayes, it's like you're not getting a guy who's just there for his offense. You're still going to have like left center field isn't going to be necessarily a void for you out there. Whereas obviously with Rojas, it's just he covers it every single time, and Marsh out there too. There's like no space to hit the baseball. But with Hayes and Marsh, obviously it's not quite the same vibe out there, but it's still very good, I would say. So I'm not super concerned about him. And how about, speaking of Orioles trades too, Moises Chasset and Seth Johnson have been incredible since we've gotten them. Those two guys have been performing at a high level. And again, like I said on last stream, it's really good to see two guys at the higher minors pitching the way they are right now. And speaking of higher minors, Hayden Miller gets called up there today too, which is huge. So a lot of bright spots in the minor league system right now.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, those guys, it's imperative to have guys pitching in the high minors that you can call on if you need to. Like this year, you see what the Phillies are going through with their starting pitching. They haven't had a fifth starter all year. And next year, it's probably going to be Seth Johnson, if I were to guess, if they need a guy in the middle of the season. Yeah. Obviously, Andrew Painter is going to be that guy whenever he comes back. But, injuries happen, whatever they may need a sixth starter for a doubleheader or something like that. It's going to be probably Seth Johnson Chasset might be in AAA by that point. You never really know.
Yeah.
And as far as the infield goes, it seems like Aiden Miller is going to be the primary guy that's going to be getting called up, like as far as top prospects go. Obviously, you have guys in AAA that are depth like Weston Wilson or whatever it may be. But if you need a guy that's going to play every single day and they think he's ready, it's probably going to be Aiden Miller, if I were to guess.
Yeah, it's crazy that he's already up and Reading. And we talked about that at the start of the year, that he was probably going to be there. But now that it's actually a reality, it's like, wow, everything went according to plan. And Aiden Miller is there now. And he started out slow in high A. And then once he figured it out, there was no turning back. That guy dominated over in Jersey Shore. It was incredible what he was doing the past couple weeks and past couple months. So really cool to see that. And again, if he makes progress in Double A and Triple A next year, that would be something else if he makes his major league debut. I think it'll probably be in 2026 if I had to make my prediction, but the fact that he's getting close is really cool. And yeah, again, Moises Chasset is really intriguing to me. Like obviously Seth Johnson's been awesome, but that guy he's striking out like 13 guys in 6 innings. That doesn't happen every day. And yeah, if you're looking for guys to stash in your dynasty league for fantasy, I would take a look at him in the last round. Like if you're drafted next year, because even if if it depends on what league you're in, obviously, or what the points and scoring is, but the guy who's going to strike out that many guys on a regular basis, yeah, that's definitely exciting. So we'll see kind of what his career trajectory is over the next year, but you could see him make a start next year at some point, maybe a couple starts. And yes, Seth Johnson looks like he might be ready. I'm surprised the Orioles dealt him in that deal at the deadline. And again, these are the guys we got in the Gregory Soto trade. I mean, that's crazy to me. Yeah, like Sir Anthony has had some ups with the Orioles, but overall, like I'm not upset about. Again, that's the thing about Austin Hayes. You didn't give up anything to really get him. Pache wasn't even. We figured that might happen until he got DFA'd. But to not only that, but then to fleece them on the Gregory Soto deal. Wow, I mean that is crazy that we got both those guys from that trade. I don't know how they were able to get that done, but yeah, really wild.
I mean, for every trade that Dombrowski seems like he loses, he wins another one. So yeah, it's so nice because we have a guy that's competent running the team now versus 5 years ago. We had Matt Klentak. So it's definitely very nice.
Yeah. And Sam Aldegheri, who got traded, made his major league debut as well. I believe he gave up 7 runs, but only 2 of them were earned. Really weird outing for him. The fact that he even got called up is crazy to me because he wasn't pitching well in Double A either. That's how the Angels do it, though. They're very aggressive with the guys they promote. Now, Nolan Shonewell got called up like a month after he was drafted. Zach Neto got called up pretty quick. There's been another guy or two, I think.
Ben Joyce.
Ben Joyce, yeah. So they are very aggressive over there. I don't know. I mean, maybe Klassen gets called up at that rate, but yeah, neither of those guys have been very good, which we figured once they left the Phillies pitching development, it wouldn't be quite the same. The Angels are not a good organization. And not only did both of them leave, they were just on the cusp of Double A when they got here, but you replace them again with two guys who are in one who's in Double A and one who's in Triple A. So you not only then replace your pitching prospects, but you also create some depth for yourself for the major league team by doing that. So you massively upgraded those two pitching prospect spots, and it's really really cool to see that. So very excited about those two guys and possibly seeing one or both of them start next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely very exciting. I mean, they obviously both have very live stuff. I mean, they're striking out a lot of guys. I mean, obviously, Chase is striking out a lot more guys than Seth Johnson is, but I mean, Triple A is kind of a little bit different than Double A. Like, it's kind of a lot of major leaguers that are like right on the fringe of like a Cody Clemens or Weston Wilson, guys that can hit in the major leagues if they get called up. It's just about, depth or whatever it may be. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely fleeced the Orioles, no doubt.
Yeah. Like you said, there's a lot of guys who have been in the big leagues who are trying to get back there in AAA or trying to get back to like earning their 10 years of service time too. I mean, that's a big thing down there. So you're not just facing guys who are scrubs, and you aren't in Double A either. But obviously Triple A, there's a number of guys like it's a little more like the big leagues in that sense. So it'll be different whenever he gets called up here. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw that, like if they clinch and then Seth Johnson makes a start at the end of the year too, which would be cool. But yeah, I'm very curious to see how that pans out like the rest of the year and over next year with those two guys. But that's really all I got on the team right now, on the minor league system too. Like there's not too much to say, honestly. And again, we'll get a better idea after this week too of just kind of how the team is really looking. And hopefully they're just able to like continue this momentum. And Wednesday should be a tough one. I think Bowden Francis is on the mound for Toronto, who he's been on a tear lately. I don't know what got into him, but he's been really good. But that being said, I expect the Phillies to wrap up this division in the next couple weeks, and hopefully they just take care of business. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, I'd love to see him get a bye too. You got to be in that 1 or 2 seed, so they got to keep playing good up till the end of the season. I think if they're not locked in, you're going to see them still start their guys. I mean, obviously,
they should.
If it's last game of the season, you're not going to start Zach Wheeler if it's do or die. I don't think, but maybe you would. I don't know. I guess it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. I mean, again, the Brewers are right there for that 2 spot too. You can't let the foot off the gas anytime soon.
And we play them.
The Dodgers. Yeah, play the Brewers this month. That's correct.
So, yep, it'll be interesting for that series for sure, because you win those 3 games, you maybe sweep them. That would really shut them out of maybe being able to catch you.
Yeah. And you don't want to end up in the 3 spot. That is one of the most, in my opinion, like one of the most unfavorable spots to be in, because obviously you play the wild card weekend, so you have that advantage in that you're keeping the rhythm there, but that 6th team in the playoffs is always dangerous, man. I mean, whoever sneaks in last year it was the Diamondbacks. The year before that it was the Phillies. And I believe last year the Diamondbacks were the last seed. But right now you have the Braves fighting for that spot. I wouldn't want to face the Braves in a 3-game set just because of Lopez has looked untouchable versus us. Schwellenbach has looked pretty good. They have obviously Chris Sale there and Max Fried is there. Max Fried is kind of a toss-up. But point being, they could absolutely win a 3-game set. They're very much fit to do that. I wouldn't want to face the Cubs in a 3-game set with Justin Steele. Who are the other 2? They have Tyone, too, who's been pretty good this year. And then Imanaga as well.
Yeah, I was about to say Imanaga.
Yep. 3 really good pitchers there. I would not really like facing them, especially the way they're playing right now and how hot they're getting. Last year, that was the opposite. And their Cubs fell off, and that's what allowed the Diamondbacks to get in. I think they went like 5-17 in September. Maybe that's drastic. Maybe it wasn't that bad, but it was bad. They were really awful in September last year, and everyone's starting to hit right now too. So I wouldn't want to face them. The Mets, I think we would take care of business, but it's just for me the mental thing of possibly losing to the Mets and having to hear about that for years to come from their fan base. So I'd just rather avoid that 3 seed as a whole. You want to get the 1 or the 2 seed. That would be just an ideal spot to be in. And I'd love to get the 1 seed so you maintain home field throughout. But if we get the 2 seed and you end up advancing and playing the Dodgers and the NLCS, I certainly don't mind having games 3, 4, and 5 at home. So just get one of the top 2 seeds, and that's all I got. Just get there. They really can't let the foot off the gas this month.
Yep, I agree. You just got to keep winning, keep playing good baseball, get hot going into the playoffs, and that's pretty much the story. It seems like, I mean, you get hot going in and win some series, make it pretty far. I mean, that's just the way the Phillies have done it the last couple of years.
Yep. And that is like kind of the nice thing about competing for those top 2 seeds is even after they clinch the division, they'll still have a lot to play for. So it's not like last year it was a little bit tough where they clinched, they couldn't move anywhere in the standings, and they were just kind of locked. They were locked into that 4 seed, and they didn't have to play any of their guys for like a week. And obviously it was fine. Like they took care of business against Miami. They didn't have any problems in the next round either. But it's just not really a spot you like being in. You'd prefer to still have more to play for and just go in with some rhythm into October. So this year, I think they absolutely will. And I believe the wild card week, the week of the wild card is like they want to say it's October 1st through 3rd, and then the 5th is the NLDS. So they really shouldn't have too long of a wait at the end of the month, I don't think either. So I'm not super concerned about that. But anything else you wanted to talk about, Drew? That's really all I had for tonight.
Nope. I mean, I think we covered pretty much everything there is at this point. So just stay healthy, make it to the playoffs in one of those top 2 seeds and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better. Well, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys on the next one as we approach Red October, which is going to be a fun time to be covering the team. So we're looking forward to talking playoff baseball with you guys and talking about all the clinching scenarios coming up this month. So thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate y'all. God bless y'all and have a good one. Peace.
Peace.